giant Chinese balloon that had been floating across parts of the United States has been shot down.
The Chinese Communist Party's influence in American businesses and financial markets is well documented, but what is it about its cutting-edge tech and spy tactics? From using drones to spy on US soil, to forcing American companies to follow their rules or face consequences, the CCP's methods are becoming increasingly complex and scary. Join us as we uncover the hidden dangers of the CCP's grip on American businesses and what it means for the future of global security. China's capital market. Western investors are becoming more involved in Chinese financial markets as US-China geopolitical tensions rise. These tensions are contributing to capital wars between the US and China, or the use of capital markets and financial instruments to cause harm. The transatlantic relationships may be impacted by the US-Chinese financial war, as the US may propose that its European allies align their financial relationships with China with the US and an emerging allied strategic approach to China. The three key players, China, the United States and Europe, will be discussed separately in 3 parts. The video examines China's financial markets, which are heavily political, and we will look at the changing capital market constraints between the US and China, and also the evolving US-Chinese relationship. The European Union needs to create a strategic approach to financial geopolitics. To begin, politics is increasingly influencing Chinese business. Second, this politicization may have serious consequences for individuals who invest in Chinese financial assets. The politicization of Chinese business is significant because, as the Fed recently cautioned, as Western investors get more exposed to Chinese capital markets, the global economy becomes more vulnerable to Chinese economic instability. Because much of China's economy is extremely political, its markets may be more subject to political and geopolitical change than Western-style liberal capitalist economies. Many people, at least in the West, anticipated that China's economy would gradually shift from the state capitalism to a free market economy prior to Xi Jinping's ascension to power. Instead, some observers have highlighted the growth of the CCP Inc. as the model for Chinese economic governance and Xi Jinping in recent years. This suggests that the Chinese Communist Party is expanding its participation in the corporate governance of both state-owned and private enterprises. The CCP's reassertion of political influence over China's enterprises means that the government is increasingly controlling, or at least co-managing, the Chinese economy. Xi Jinping has reasserted the CCP's grip over a number of economic sectors, with real estate and banking bearing the worst of the damage. The arrests, incarcerations and even executions of numerous high-level Chinese tycoons who own significant financial businesses were the first clear indicator that the events plainly show that the party has regained control. Simultaneously, the party has been far more active in Chinese firms other than state-owned enterprises. Communist Party cells and committees can now be found in private businesses. The participation of the People's Liberation Army and the Chinese military industrialization system in China's civilian economy complicates matters further. To summarize, the civilian and military sectors of the Chinese economy are inextricably linked via corporate ecosystems, conglomerates, dual-use technology, and infrastructure. The interconnectivity of military and civilian parts has a long legacy in Communist China, and the PLA's engagement in business might be regarded as a defining feature of China's economy. The political and military intrusion into Chinese industry could be hazardous for investors. Many companies' financial assets are traded in Chinese capital markets. CCP's influence on the financial market. The reality is that China's political leadership frequently regards financial markets as susceptible to the Communist Party's political concerns and foreign policy aims, just as state-owned enterprises, SOEs, private businesses and technological firms are. According to The Economist, China is pursuing an asymmetric decoupling strategy, reducing its independence on the West while increasing the West's financial dependence on China. Whereas mainland Chinese companies formerly raised cash by listing abroad, many have begun raising capital at home via the Shanghai and Shenzhen markets, which are directly controlled by China's authorities. In fact, the authorities are gradually restricting Chinese companies' ability to list forex exchanges, thereby strengthening China's official regulatory power over these enterprises. At the same time, though various market access programs, China's onshore markets have grown more accessible to the foreign portfolio, primarily institutional investors. Previously, these international investors could only invest in Chinese assets listed offshore. Now they can invest in Chinese stocks, bonds and futures in the onshore market. The amount of foreign portfolio investment holdings of Chinese assets surged quickly, with index providers such as MSCI and FTSE included, and gradually raised the weight of Chinese assets in their respective stock bond indices, reaching $1.1 trillion in the summer of 2021. CCPs drones in US skies. The United States may have shot down one communist China's spy balloon, but America's problem is foreign power spying is far from over. Many Americans watched in horror as the Biden administration took a dangerously careless approach to bring down the Chinese spy balloon. People have the right to be outraged and demand action, but one balloon is only a small part of Communist China's huge surveillance campaign. The grim reality is that the Chinese Communist Party has been spying on Americans for years, using drones purchased with your tax dollars and operated by the federal government. As if the Fed's army of Chinese drones wasn't bad enough, the US government continues to sit back and watch Chinese-made drones from companies like Daijing Innovations and Autel Robotics completely dominating the civilian drone market. Warning about the dangers that Chinese-made drones pose to US national security. Xi Jinping and his communist regime seek worldwide dominance and will use all means to achieve it, including stealing, cheating, spying, and sponsoring tech, such as DJI drones, to spy on Americans and penetrate the government. Americans have made progress, but they are not going to stop until every single Chinese manufacturer drone is removed from the government's inner workings and replaced with drones built in the US. The American Security Drone Act would bar the US government from acquiring drones made in countries recognized as national security risks, such as Iran and China. Then comes the Countering CCP Drones Act. This legislation is an extension of past efforts to prevent the military from obtaining Chinese-made drones. The federal government has also taken important steps, such as the Treasury's Department, restriction on US investment in DJI, and the Department of Defense's inclusion of DJI on its Chinese military companies list. For the time being, Western investors should be aware of an endeavour to comprehend the consequences of non-fictional Chinese political risk to their portfolios. From a macro-prudential standpoint, financial regulators should evaluate how Chinese political and military forces affect the Chinese economy and how this affects the world economy. One way that China is attempting to control American business is by imposing strict regulations that make it difficult for foreign companies to operate in China. For example, Chinese regulations require foreign companies to partner with Chinese firms, making it difficult for foreign businesses to maintain control over their operations in China. Additionally, Chinese regulations require foreign companies to share their technology with Chinese counterparts, which could lead to intellectual property theft and further competition from domestic firms. Another way that China is attempting to control American business is through censorship. Chinese authorities closely monitor the online activities of foreign companies and individuals, censoring content they deem politically sensitive or harmful to China's image. This censorship can limit the freedom of expression of American businesses in China and can have a significant impact on their ability to market their products and services. China is also promoting domestic competitors to American businesses, such as by offering subsidies to Chinese firms and imposing tariffs on American goods. This can make it difficult for American businesses to compete in the Chinese markets, as Chinese firms may have an unfair advantage due to the support they receive from the Chinese government. Overall, China's attempts to control American businesses could have significant economic and geopolitical implications. American businesses may face significant challenges in China, which could limit their ability to operate in the country or to access the Chinese market. Additionally, China's efforts to promote domestic competitors could further increase competition in industries that are already under pressure due to globalization and technological change. It's essential for American businesses to be aware of these challenges and to take appropriate measures to mitigate them. This could include investing in alternative markets, developing technology that is less vulnerable to intellectual property theft, and advocating for policies that promote fair competition in the global marketplace. Additionally, governments can work together to address these issues through diplomacy and trade negotiations. ensuring that the interests of American businesses are adequately protected. Don't let the CCP's method go unnoticed. It's important that we be informed and be aware of the hazards associated with their impact on American business and beyond. If you found this video informative, be sure to like and subscribe for more content on global affairs and security.